Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. Over 17,000 candidates scored above 300 in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike blames Governor Makinde for PDP crisis, pulls out of reconciliation deal. Mpox crisis deepens in Sierra Leone amid rising deaths and a rapid spread. Details to come your way shortly. We begin the news now with education story as the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has released the results of the 2025 UTME receipt exams for candidates affected by earlier disruptions. Of the 336,845 candidates scheduled, over 21,000 were absent. JAM says those absentees will be allowed to participate in a mop-up exam. Meanwhile, the board condemned rising examination malpractices, blacklisting several CBT centers and prosecuting those involved. As a one-time waiver, results for underage candidates and those linked to WhatsApp brands were released, but JAM clarified they will not qualify for admission. Commending security agencies for tackling digital fraud, JAM reaffirmed its commitment to a fair and credible exam process, urging students to avoid illegal prep groups. For more on this, I'm joined by Dr. Peter Ogudoro, who is an education researcher and managing consultant, Ogudoro Leadership Traders and Management Consultants. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, on the news.
It's my pleasure.
Now, some Nigerians will say that JAM's examination this year was messy. Others will say it managed the situation quite well. But then are you relieved that at least the crisis was finally resolved?
Yeah, certainly. We're a developing country, and so we should expect that from time to time, until we're able to find our feet firmly on the ground, things like this will happen. And the good news is that they moved in swiftly, and they have been able to provide some reassurance to the candidates who became victims of a system that they did not create. So we are moving forward in some sense, but we can put measures in place to ensure that we don't have a repeat of this next time, because the cost implications, especially in terms of the modern emotional burden that parents and their children bear when things like this happen, that can be very catastrophic sometimes. We have heard about some fatal cases associated with this, and most of these challenges are avoidable.
Well, yeah. Now, I mean, the suspects said were said to have confessed to sabotaging the examination to discredit JAM and discourage students from using CBT for future tests. Is there any valid reason why a CBT-based test is somewhat detested?
I do not think so. But, when things like this happen, you find conspiracy theories, flying around. And we shouldn't give them a chance to flourish. The truth is that, indeed, some challenges happen because JAM is not the owner of every element of what they are using to conduct the exam and release the results. You will remember that they did confirm to us that the major challenge came from an outsider who was a service provider. If they were in absolute control of the mechanisms for uploading the results of the candidates who wrote who were involved in this matter themselves to the server, certainly we will not be where we are. And so we can avoid that by funding a system that will make it possible for JAM to own virtually every aspect of the CBT, including even the CBT centers. If we're serious as a country, this is a possibility because we can equip even secondary schools to own functional labs with all the computers we need in place in those places, and then train even the teachers themselves to be able to run these systems and make sure that the recruitment process is such that those who are handling every stage of it understand that it's a national assignment and we can't afford to embarrass our country by giving wrong impressions when things like this happen.
While that can be put into consideration, we may still need to consider a school of thought that believes that, this system, which was even a blessing in disguise in the first place, as it actually shone a spotlight on exam malpractices by syndicates. According to JAM investigations, candidates, those who actually engage special centers, and just as you said, CBT centers. But then what do you think of this as regards the entire ecosystem for examination conduct in the country?
Well, examination malpractice is not about to evaporate from our country. There are factors that keep making it, flourish, and those factors have remained, troublesome, and they are not going to disappear in a hurry. One of the reasons why mercenaries get involved, if you read the report from JAM, courtesy of their head of communication very well, you will understand that as many as about 3,000 young people in universities are actually trying to feed by doing the wrong thing, but making examination malpractice to flourish. And that's one of the reasons why that is so is pervasive poverty, where young people in universities are not able to find legitimate means to fund their education, and their parents are so poor that they are not able to fund their education, so that they just concentrate on studying rather than finding money to take care of themselves. So some people may argue, say, but are they the only ones who have financial challenges? But the truth is that in countries where students don't have to grapple with having to pay their own school fees themselves and take care of them on their other needs, you don't find this level of involvement of undergraduates in the disruption of a very important system that carries huge implications for national development. So I do not buy the conspiracy theory because it's just a problem that we could have avoided. And the reason why examination malpractice has continued to flourish is because we are running a system that makes certificate look like the only thing that matters in life, which is very unfortunate. If we start employing on the basis of capacity to solve practical problems and not over-reliance on the kind of grades that people show to employers, I think that less interest will be devoted to asking people to show us how many credits they have in their school certificate and what they scored in JAM. With that, I think that we'll have less of these kinds of challenges.
So aside funding that you canvassed for, does it mean that there's a need for a total overhaul of Nigeria's education system if we're hoping to get it right?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the reasons why examination malpractice has continued to flourish is the fact that as a people, we place so much emphasis on diploma. When I say diploma, certificates, whether it's a school certificate or JAM certificate or polytechnic or university. That's not where the rest of the world is. If you go to a place like Finland, children don't even write exam until they're 16 years old. But in Nigeria, we start writing exams even from the age of 18 months, which is very unfortunate for us. So we need to redirect the attention of teachers, school owners, school leaders, and policy formulators in the education space to running a system that focuses more on truly giving people skills, helping them to acquire the knowledge that will make them globally competitive, and acquiring the skills it takes for them to develop social networks that will enable them to truly get what they want and become more patriotic and contribute via volunteerism and those kinds of things, so that when they need things, they will be able to get them without having actually to present the kind of certificates that we overrate in our country. So it's a systemic flaw that JAM alone, no matter how hard they try, they can't fix all of this, and they should stop. The leadership of JAM should stop. Stop thinking that only them can resolve the problem with examination malpractice in our country. We need to get the larger ecosystem of education in the country involved, starting with the minister himself, and then collaborating with the employers who also run employment situations, and getting them to pay more attention to skills, knowledge, ability to solve practical problems when they are recruiting, rather than always insisting that people have to present 9As, 2-1 and have a first class before they can be even shortlisted for interview. So we have been doing the wrong thing for a very long time, and that's what keeps making children want to get these high scores. And you can even see when we release the result, we over-celebrate those who do more than 300. Even JAMB itself commits a similar error. And when they release the result, they are telling us what percentage scored above 300. We shouldn't keep making those things look like they are very important, because at the end of the day, when we become truly mature, we shouldn't be using only JAMB result to determine who goes into university. Other countries don't operate the way we are operating. A child studies for a period of 6 years, JS1 to SS3, and we use only a 2-hour exam to determine whether he's qualified or not to get into the university. I think that system is wrong, because we can be deceived by what an individual produces in only 2 hours, either in favor of the candidate or against the candidate. So we need to bring in more elements into the process of determining who should get into university, including asking questions about leadership ability, commitment to community service, and of course, capacity to demonstrate patriotism as you utilize the resources that Nigeria presents to you. That's what several other countries are doing. So we should stop using only one exam that is conducted in only 2 hours to determine who gets opportunity to take the next step in the process.
Okay, Dr. Peter Ogudoro, thank you so much for sharing your profound knowledge with us on the news.
My pleasure.
Let's go on a break now. When we return, Wike blames Makinde over PDP crisis, pulls out of reconciliation deal. We'll tell you more when we return. Join us again. Now to politics. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has declared his withdrawal from all agreements previously reached to resolve the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, vowing to fight on until justice is attained. Wike, in a statement titled PDP Crisis, My Position, released on Sunday, blamed non-adherence to agreements reached as the bane of the party. He maintained that all parties must respect resolutions previously agreed upon, including the recognition of Senator Samuel Anyanwu as the party's national secretary in line with a Supreme Court judgment. Withdrawal of all legal actions related to Rivers State by the PDP's national legal advisor is also part of the recommendation. He regretted that despite helping many governors win elections, he never asked them for anything in return. And he accused Makinde of colluding with Enugu State Governor Peter Mba to push for Ude Okoye's emergence as the national secretary, which he says threatens the party's stability in the southeast. Meanwhile, while the 2027 general election is about 2 years away, it appears political parties and major actors are already battle-ready for the poll, with dynamic shifts and strategic realignments and party defections playing a significant role. In recent times, the People's Democratic Party had several of its members, including a sitting governor, senators, members of the House of Representatives, defect to the ruling APC, a development that had redefined political affiliations and power structures. There are also strong indications that the governor of Akwa Ibom State may soon defect to the APC. What does this mean for Nigeria's democracy, governance, and national development? Well, to give answers to this, we're joined by Paul Ibe. Joins us live. He is the media aide to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibe, for coming around.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
So let's start from the point of the defections. How would you react to the massive defections from the PDP now to the APC by those the party would have thought would be the strongholders of the party?
Well, look, I mean, in every association, in every group, even down to family units, there are always problems, challenges, So the PDP, I mean, like every other party, has challenges And these are not normal times. These are challenges that are being instigated, by the ruling party. And the objective is to decimate the opposition parties, the PDP, the Labour Party, the NNPP, ABGA, you mentioned them. And the whole idea is to railroad all of the 200 million, over 200 million Nigerians into the same, basket of deplorables, which exactly is what the APC, that's what they are. And they want all of us to be in the same basket. And that is exactly what is driving, these defections.
Oh, you said that the internal crisis is instigated by the ruling party. I'd like to get more clarity on that, or probably citing instances.
Yes, since the 2023 election, because one individual, Nyesom Wike, former governor of Rivers State, now minister of the Federal Capital Territory, because he lost, the primaries of that, of that presidential election, because he lost out in the race for, the nomination of the vice presidential candidate. He decided to, become a nuisance, working in cahoots, with the ruling party, to create crisis in the party. So all of the crises that we have, from the secretary, of the party issue, they're all linked to Nyesom Wike. And this is because he has a mandate, of the Tinubu administration to deliver, to be the undertaker, to kill the PDP, to kill the Labour Party, to kill the NNPP, to pave the way, to pave way for a one-party state. They don't, they are afraid, obviously, of an opposition, and more so the fact that the coalition is ramping up his engine, to challenge, the ruling party. And so this so-called crisis that we're talking about, they are all instigated, by working, with the ruling party.
So now that the FCT minister has come out to say that he's going to be pulling out of the peace deal, and that the PDP crisis is actually fueled by the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, does it look as though he's trying to gaslight the PDP?
It's good riddance, good riddance. It's obviously part of his, playbook. The damage has been done. He has succeeded, in creating discord, and disharmony, in the PDP, and now he's blaming it on other, on other individuals. Very typical of him, because he does not want to take responsibility for the crisis that he has caused, that has festered. So if he says he's pulling out, the party is, will be better served without a Nyesom, without a Nyesom Wike, because this is a man who is trying to pull down the house on a party, on a house that he's part of. It's just because of the fact that he lost out in the primary, and is now willing and presented himself as the man Friday of Tinubu administration to, to bury, the PDP.
So what about Atiku Abubakar? Are there any guarantees that it would still stay within the fold of the PDP, because we're getting stories or feelers that it probably might move to ADC and spearhead a coalition? What is the future of this? Listen,
I said, not too long ago, that the efforts by the former vice president were frustrated by some of these characters who are posturing as, loving the PDP more than any other, person. The former vice president has quietly been, engaged in reconciliatory, moves. But, a lot of these, individuals, a lot of these characters, including, but not limited to Nyesom Wike, have frustrated, those efforts. The former vice president does not need to, speak about, or, be on television or radio or on the newspapers to talk about what he's, he's been doing, because some of the things he's doing are things that require, very subtle, quiet diplomacy. And, he has been doing his bit. And don't forget that nobody ever claps with one hand. You need both hands to be able to clap. And so he has been, Yeah, he has done his bit. Thank God that we have the Bukola Saraki-led reconciliation committee, and the former vice president, will provide all of the supports, to him to be able to achieve, reconciliation in the party. Like I said, yes, on Wike, good riddance to bad rubbish.
Well, now, some critics said that the whole leadership of the PDP are actually cowards because they actually failed to either discipline or expel Wike for what they consider as anti-party activities. And of course, some members have actually found excuses for it. I don't know why these has come to play, but I'd like to get your feelers on the reason that we are seeing some sort of a lack of leadership within the fold of the PDP.
They are not cowards. Let me tell you what Nyesom Wike did. He simply succeeded, in dividing, the party. That was what he succeeded in doing that. And so, the stakeholders and also the leadership of the party also been very careful. They don't want to hand over to him what is actually his end game, which is to provide a justification that the party is divided. The party is not facing any crisis. The party has an acting national chairman. The issue that they have over the secretaryship of the party has been settled, by the Supreme Court, which ruled that he didn't have any business in the affairs of the party. And so the Southeast, caucus of the party had, they have represented, Koye, as the, secretary of, of the party. So the leadership of the party has been very careful, because you know what he has done. He has created, put a knife between the things that held them together, and he has brought some people, towards his side because of the resources that is, that he has, that he's playing with as the FCT minister. Some of these PDP, stakeholders, at night, they are in bed with him, and working in cahoot with him to be able to, to ensure that he succeeds, in the sinister agenda, of decimating, the party. So I don't think it's cowardice.
But you don't think
strategic distance that is involved.
But sorry, you don't think that the failure of the leadership to actually rein in the influence Wike has had over the years on the party is actually what has given Wike the opportunity to hold PDP at the jugular? He's been seen as a perceived threat. You've equally said that he succeeded in his sinister moves. But then we have a leadership of a party that should have done the needful when they had the opportunity to do so.
Listen, this is like I told you. You see, as FCT minister, Nyesom Wike has resources that a lot of, the state, governors don't have. Maybe possibly Lagos State or maybe Rivers. And that was also why he was hounded, the Rivers State governor, because, resources were also at play. He probably wanted more resources. And so with these resources, he's able to play his divide and rule game. I mean, that is clear. Some of the lands being taken over, including that of the opposition, People's Democratic Party, is being used to settle. That is exactly what is at play. Yes, he had influence before now, but now he has a mandate, of the ruling party, which is afraid of an opposition challenge. And so the only way to ensure that they have their way is to ensure that Wike delivers to them a dead and buried PDP, a dead and buried Labour Party, a dead and buried NNPP. That is exactly what is at play.
So does this actually mean that the People's Democratic Party were actually, in local parlance, chopping Wike's money, and now that their belly is full, they do not have what it takes to call Wike to order or probably expel him for what they have seen that he has done? I mean, we've seen stories and we've seen people talk about the fact that he actually walked against the PDP at the presidential elections in 2023. But then we didn't see them take a drastic action against him.
Listen, there are lessons to be learned from what is going on in the PDP. And that is the reason why there shouldn't be career politicians. Politicians need to have both a day job and a night job. The reason being that if you have people who have resources, who have independent, they have an economy that is independent, of their involvement in politics and governance, it will be difficult to be able to persuade such people to do things, to compromise their, this thing. So with some of the PDP, stakeholders and leaders being out of, of government for a while, it becomes very easy to compromise, some of them. They don't have the balls, because it's all about, the stomach infrastructure. And so, like I said, it is they will have a day job, they'll have an address that is different from the address of their political party, the address of the government that they are serving. It is important. Otherwise, we'll continue to have, people like this with no balls, and they can succumb to the whims and caprices of people like Nyesom Wike and the administration that is serving.
All right, thank you so much, Paul Ibe, for sharing your insights with us about this matter on the news.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
You're welcome. When we go on a break and return, we'll tell you about special needs and metal work in the northern part of Nigeria. I will bring you more details of other stories too. Do stay with us. We'll be back in a bit. Let's now go to Kano State, where production at the popular Fage Disabled Metal Services Workshop located at Katsina Road in the Kano State capital is currently witnessing a boom. This is as the workers, who are mainly persons living with disabilities, say that they have surpassed their daily quota, increasing production, and have now transitioned to the production of automobiles. New Central's television crew visited the metal workshop and brings us this inspiring story.
Along Katsina Road in the ancient city of Kano lies a side attraction, the Fage Disabled Metal Services, a fascinating metal workshop exclusively for persons living with disability. They have all overcome their limitations to create jobs for themselves and to end the urge to beg, usually associated with persons living with disabilities. For these ones here, work is a daily routine. This is what attracts the numerous residents, donor agencies, politicians, and schools for special needs who make up their primary customers. They are unanimous in repeating the phrase, "Kolyatabia kudin sabulu," meaning the work is very rewarding when translated from the local Hausa language. With completed ironworks ranging from 35,000 to 100,000 naira, some of them say that the daily pay is good and enough to feed their families, train their children in schools, and even pay some of their employees.
Muna kallon gwamnati tana yin abubuwa wanda ake a siyo kayan da
keep watching the government keep buying wheelchairs and donating, but we don't have anyone to buy for us. That is why we decided to learn how to construct our wheelchairs. We learn how to manufacture bicycles, motorcycles, even cars. We now manufacture cars here in Kano, in this Katsina Road, where they call Gidan Alhaji Sani Babangwari. They also add that the support from the Kano State government has been tremendous, as it has properly empowered many living with disabilities in the state. 85% of persons living with disabilities that are citizens of Kano do not engage in street begging. If you see anyone begging, that person is not from Kano State. I persevere and learn this work, and it is good. I call on other PWDs like me to learn this work because street begging is not good.
I don't want to what I call it bara. I mean lobbying kokuma begging. I don't like to be a begging like many people because I'm very, very be ashamed because I am not need something to give me.
Mun fi shekara 30 muna yin wannan aiki. Da kyaure.
It's over 30 years since we started this work. We manufacture wheelchairs, construct motorcycles. Here is a car we have started manufacturing. By God's grace, we will start producing many.
Alhamdulillah, wallahi. Wallahi yanzu nan na gyaran wuta wulciya ne, ina hada mata na wanke ta domin in wa mai ita in gyara masa ita masa service cewa tabbatar cewa an masa abu mai kyau.
Honestly, I'm servicing a wheelchair to make it good so that the PWDs like me will enjoy it. Yes, I am the one that is disabled, so I know what they want. The workers at this unique workshop are calling for more support from the state government. What we want from the Kano State government is a big house and a big space at the center of the city so that we will continue to progress in this profession, so that we will train other disabled persons too to learn the job. They say that with the promises already received, they are hoping that they will have cause to smile in the next few months. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
And our correspondent, Emmanuel Bagudu, joins me live for more on the story. Emmanuel, good evening to you. Quite an interesting story, I must say, that you put together. Tell us more about your engagements with these people.
Yes, very remarkable and very fascinating engagement. And of course, very, very huge claims and very huge revelations were revealed by these PWDs. It will surprise you to know that they are claiming that about 80% of the people living with disabilities in Kano State are not street beggars, contrary to the general belief that the people of Kano, the people of northern Nigeria, are beggars. So they are claiming that they have created jobs for themselves. They are manufacturing. They started from manufacturing, wheelchairs, and later they started manufacturing recreational facilities. And now they are manufacturing automobiles, which actually gives an impression to the general world, to the whole world, that these guys have taken their destiny into their hands. They have broken their limitations, and they are trying to survive. And they are trying to change the narrative to make the whole world believe that northern Nigeria is not for beggars, that disabled persons in northern Nigeria do not beg. He made it clear in his statement, that's talking about the assistant head of the Fage Metalwork agencies, Fage Metalwork, Fage Metalwork disabled services. They made it clear that they don't beg, that the 80% of the persons living with disabilities in Kano do not beg, as the Fage disabled Metalworks have made it possible for them to gain jobs, and they are growing, and that the fact that they are producing hugely, they should be expanded. They need a very bigger space so that they can bring in other disabled persons to come in and join them and learn in the trade, and then continue to create that impression that they are not beggars, that disabled persons in northern Nigeria are not beggars, contrary to what we've heard some politicians say in recent times. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bagudu, for sharing this update with us. Of course, we hope that they will get all the hope they can get to actually ensure that they enjoy this process and improve on their engagements. Thank you so much. Coming up on the news, Uganda suspends a military cooperation with Germany. We'll bring you details in a short while. Do stay with us. Let's turn our attention to a developing public health alert out of West Africa. Sierra Leone is seeing a sharp rise in cases of mpox, the viral disease related to smallpox. According to newly released figures from the country's Ministry of Health, 3,011 cases have now been confirmed nationwide since the beginning of the year. Tragically, 14 people have died from the disease. This marks a nearly 50% increase in reported cases in just 10 days. On May 13, officials had reported 2,045 infections and 11 deaths. For the first time, all regions of Sierra Leone have now recorded cases of the virus. Now, the South African National Christian Forum says it is disappointed by the South African delegation that went to the U.S. that included President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying they missed the opportunity to refute the allegations of genocide in South Africa. The forum was of the view that instead of dismissing what it called misrepresentation of facts by the U.S. president, Ramaphosa and the delegates appear to be begging the U.S. to help in resolving the country's problems of crime and unemployment. The South African National Christian Forum is furthermore concerned by the proposed change of BEEE, which they believe paves the way for the accommodation of Elon Musk company, Sarah's reversal of transformation policies. To talk more about this, we're joined by Bishop Mashashane, who is the president of SANCF. Bishop, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. We greet you in the name.
You're welcome. So, what is your perspective on the allegations of genocide in South Africa, and why do you think that the South African delegation failed to effectively refute the claims by the U.S. president?
Thank you very much for having us. I'm not sure if I'm audible. We feel that indeed this was just obviously Trump's own made propaganda, obviously aiming to undermine the South African case against Israel. And his intention was also to try to distort the exact meaning of genocide. And this is just his own growing catalog of antagonistic encounters with foreign leaders in a different form of his own manipulation. But in the same leg, we also feel that our delegates have missed the opportunity not only to convince Trump, because obviously he is on his own agenda. So whatever he decides or wherever he's standing, he knows that there is no genocide in South Africa against the white Afrikaner. But we believe that our delegates, including our president, were supposed to use the platform actually to put our correct perspective into the whole country, the entire world, meaning they were supposed to put the perspective of our country history, the background of apartheid, and the scars that apartheid have left us with, such as the inequality, imbalanced society, the poverty, well, including the unemployment and the lack of possession of the land. And by so doing, we believe that they were also supposed to put it very clear that we do have our own constitution as a sovereign country.
Okay.
And therefore, that constitution has its own way of redressing the imbalances of the previous regime. And also, our constitutional court have already ruled in February. Yes.
So, yeah, even as we wrap up, I'd like to also get your perspective around the BEEE policy and how that would affect the country's transformation agenda. Just in about a minute, please.
Oh, thank you very much. About the BEE, at the moment as stands, any multi-international companies coming in the country, in particular on the ICT, therefore it needs to give at least 30% to the previous disadvantaged. And we believe that reversing that to accommodate Starlink, that will make a damage, because It doesn't address the imbalances, the inequality of our society, which was caused by apartheid. Instead, as they say, it will create employment. It means it only leaves black people as the workers or as the slavery of the whites. That doesn't address that we as blacks can also access the ownership at any stage.
Thank you so much, Bishop Mashishane, for shedding your light on this particular story. We're going to stay on it and talk about it more. Thank you so much for your time. Let's move on now.
Thank you very much for having us. God bless.
You're welcome. Uganda's military has suspended all defense and military cooperation with Germany, accusing German Ambassador Mathias Schauer of engaging in subversive activities aimed at destabilizing the country. The Uganda People's Defense Forces cited credible intelligence linking the ambassador to hostile political military groups opposing the government ahead of next year's elections. The suspension will remain until the issue is fully resolved. This marks a serious diplomatic rift following allegations that some European diplomats support opposition groups. The German embassy has yet to comment. But then Uganda faces growing international criticism over its crackdown on dissent as it prepares for presidential elections. Well, in sports, we'll let you know that Chelsea is qualified for the Champions League, having beaten Nottingham Forest 1-0 in a crucial match, a must-win match, I must say, for that qualification, and that means that it will be participating in the elite European tournament come next season. And that's all at this hour. Before we go, we'll look at our top stories again. Over 17,000 candidates scored above 300 in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike blames Governor Makinde for PDP crisis, pulls out of reconciliation deal. We also told you that Mpox crisis deepens in Sierra Leone amid rising deaths and rapid spread. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Do watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onabanjo.